number of new coronavirus cases reported in Los Angeles County in the last 24 hours is 964, with 35 additional deaths. Here in Torrance, 11 additional cases were reported with no new deaths. Welcome to COVID-19 Today. I'm Christine Lee. It's Wednesday, October 6th. The city of LA now has one of the most strict vaccine mandates in the country. The new ordinance passed this morning with 11 votes, just one vote shy of passing with an emergency clause, which would have allowed it to take effect immediately. Instead, the earliest it can take effect is in November. People going to indoor spaces, including bars, gyms, restaurants, shopping centers, and other similar establishments will have to show proof of full COVID-19 vaccination. Personal care businesses are also included in the ordinance, such as barbershops, nail salons, and spas. Grocery stores and pharmacies are not affected, and people can be exempt if they have medical conditions that restrict their ability to get vaccinated or have a, quote, sincerely held religious belief, which will be reviewed by the location the person is trying to enter. Big changes are coming to the greater LA County starting tomorrow. Outdoor mega events will require either proof of full vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test result upon entry. Proof of at least one dose of a coronavirus vaccine will be needed to enter or work in indoor portions of bars, lounges, nightclubs, breweries, wineries, and distilleries. And starting November 4th, all of those establishments will require full vaccination as well. The LA County Department of Public Health created toolkits to help businesses through all stages of implementation, including an overview of vaccination and testing requirements. You can check them out at publichealth.lacounty.gov. Thousands of Kaiser Permanente employees across the country are suspended for not getting vaccinated. The hospital placed 2,200 workers on unpaid administrative leave starting October 1st. The suspensions reflect 2% of Kaiser's entire U.S. employee base. Company officials say the suspended workers have until December 1st to either get vaccinated or risk losing their jobs permanently. The organization announced in August of its plans to have all employees fully vaccinated by September 30th. It's not clear at this time how many people in California are affected. Kaiser is the largest non-government employer in LA County. Misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines has led to low vaccination rates. The California Farm Worker Foundation monitored a number of myths among farm workers. Some believe that the COVID-19 vaccine will somehow alter their sexuality, harm fertility, contain tracking chips that will allow the government to control them, or cause paralysis, cancer, and even death. Immunization advocates say misconceptions like these are crippling their efforts to get more people vaccinated. Latino communities continue to fall behind in vaccination rates. In Orange County, only 47% of Latino residents ages 12 and up have gotten at least one dose, compared to 73% among white residents. In Fresno County, where the majority of residents are Latinos, only 54% of them got at least one dose, compared to 67% of white residents. Anti-vaccine messaging has become such a problem that social media companies started removing them from their platforms. Public health officials reaffirm that vaccines are safe, free, and effective against COVID-19. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services launched a new ad campaign featuring unvaccinated people who got seriously ill from COVID-19.
I got COVID. I was intubated and in a coma for 11 days. I am a typical mom of two. I work full time. I did not get the COVID vaccine. I was concerned.
Been in the hospital for 76 days now. And by the grace of God, I'm still here. It was a lot of dark times then. I died 3 times.
The real-life stories instill fear and motivate more Americans to get vaccinated. In a new report, the Health and Human Services linked vaccination to a reduction of more than 250,000 COVID-19 cases 100,000 hospitalizations, and 39,000 deaths among seniors. That's welcome news, as more than 352,000 lives were lost during the first 9 months of the pandemic before vaccines became available. Almost 80% of these deaths were among people 65 years and older. Public health officials say the latest report continues to support the fact that COVID-19 vaccines save lives. Astrazeneca, the drug maker that developed one of the first COVID-19 vaccines, asked the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for emergency authorization of a first-of-its-kind antibody treatment to prevent the disease. The treatment is known as AZD 7442, and if authorized, would likely be limited to people with compromised immune systems. AstraZeneca officials say their priority is to protect vulnerable populations that don't have enough protection from vaccines. The long-acting drug can boost immunity for up to 1 year, unlike existing drugs that taper off after a month or two. The FDA already authorized 3 other antibody drugs, including a couple that can be given after a possible COVID-19 exposure to intercept symptoms. AstraZeneca's drug works differently. It would be given as a preventative measure in people who are more vulnerable to the virus. The FDA stressed that antibody drugs are not a substitute for vaccination, which is the most effective and long-lasting form of virus protection. They're also expensive to produce and require an IV or injection and healthcare workers to administer. Late-stage human trials for this new treatment show promising results. It reduced the risk of developing symptomatic COVID-19 by 77%. It was a sobering moment in Washington, D.C. this week as the Washington National Cathedral tolled its morning bell 700 times in memory of the 700,000 Americans who died from COVID-19. The bells rang for more than an hour. The hundreds of thousands of white flags also represent the lives lost from the coronavirus. Church officials say every death and every person is worthy of our remembrance and our grieving. And while this gesture cannot replace the lives lost, they hope it will help each American mourn the toll of this pandemic. Well, gridlock at the ports of LA and Long Beach may have played a role in the recent oil spill in Orange County. U.S. Coast Guard investigators say multiple large cargo vessels were in the leak area before the oil was spotted. They believe a ship's anchor dragged across the ocean floor and hooked into the pipeline, causing 144,000 gallons of oil to spill into the ocean. Container ship traffic increased 5 times since 2019, and supply chains face an unprecedented bottleneck due to pandemic-related issues. With LA and Long Beach harbors at near capacity, container ships and oil tankers have had to drop massive anchors in designated sites that place them near oil platforms and an undersea infrastructure of oil lines, sewage treatment pipes, and communications equipment. A final determination for the cause of the spill may take months, but Coast Guard investigators offer no other explanation at this time. 2021 is likely to become the worst year for gun violence in decades. According to the Gun Violence Archive, 14,516 people died from gun violence between January 1st and September 15th. That's 1,300 more than during the same period last year, a 9% increase. Mass shootings are also on the rise. Through September 15th, 498 mass shootings took place across the U.S., an average of 1.92 a day, 15% more than last year. But on a more positive note, the rapid rise in gun violence may be slowing down. Researchers at the University of Missouri in St. Louis noted a decline in homicide cases in recent months. During the first quarter of 2021, the number of homicides was 23% higher than in 2020, but during the second quarter, that number dropped to 10%. South Coast Air Quality Management District is looking for community members to weigh in about improving air quality and public health. The Air Pollution Control Agency will host a meeting tonight to discuss the status and process for designating future communities for the Assembly Bill 617 Community Air Protection Program, which focuses on reducing air pollution for those most impacted throughout the state. The meeting will be held virtually on Zoom from 6 to 8 p.m. It's open to the public, Spanish interpretation will be offered, and agency officials will be available to answer questions. For more information, you can visit aqmd.gov/AB617. Well, today is California Clean Air Day. According to cleanair.org, California has some of the worst air pollution in the U.S. 7 out of the 10 most ozone-polluted U.S. cities are in our state. 1 million annual school absences by California students are related to air pollution. And Californians are 4 times more likely to experience serious air pollution-related problems. California Clean Air Day is a project of the Coalition for Clean Air. More than 1.6 million Californians pledged last year to do their part to make a positive impact on our environment. Everyone is encouraged to take part by doing something, anything, to improve air quality. Biking or taking public transit to work or planting a tree are a few examples. For more ideas and information, go to cleanairday.org. Well, bi-monthly, we share a Wellness Wednesday story to help you stay on top of this pandemic, both emotionally and physically. The mental health of police officers is something that often gets overlooked. They respond to and witness some of the most tragic events that happen in our communities. On-the-job stress can have a significant impact on both physical and mental well-being. According to the National Alliance on Mental Health, many officers struggle with alcohol abuse, depression, suicidal thoughts, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other challenges. CDC data shows that nearly 1 in 4 police officers has thoughts of suicide at some point in their life. More police die by suicide than in the line of duty. Fortunately, open communication about mental health is becoming more common and more widely accepted. During National Night Out, Police Chief Jeremiah Hart shared about the difficulties his officers face during this pandemic and says it's important for officers and the community to support each other during this critical time.
Coming out of COVID, it's taken an emotional toll. Not only has there been a toll on the economy and community, but the emotional toll of feeling isolated. So right now there is a feeling of hope that we're going to be able to not only reconnect, but rebuild community. And so as the chief of police, one of the things I'm constantly monitoring is the attitude and the wellness and the health, the mental health of the organization. And really there is a struggle sometimes for the hearts and minds, not only of the community, but for the police officers themselves, and to give them hope and to really let them see that the community does care about them and that the community is here because of the police department. And the police department's here only because of the community support. And it really comes back to that idea of our job together. That's how we're going to have success as a helpful and healthy community.
You can hear more from Chief Hart at National Night Out on future episodes of Weekends in Torrance. Well, before we go at the end of each program, we'd like to share feel-good stories from our community. Pictures, images, and videos that remind us of how resilient our community is and how Torrance truly cares. Historic Old Town will host its 4th annual family-friendly event called Scare Down in downtown this weekend. On Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m., kids of all ages can come dressed up in costumes for some free Halloween treats, enjoy a car show, games, and live music, take selfies with monsters that are lurking around, and support local businesses. A handful of them will have spooky food and specialty drinks available, from pumpkin ale at Red Car Brewery to ghost nachos at Local Kitchen. And Torrance Bakery will give out free pumpkin cookies while supplies last to all kids in costumes. Sounds like a fun time. Now, if you have a great story, upcoming event, a photo or video you'd like to share, email us at covid19today@torranceca.gov. We'd love to hear from you. Well, that's our update for COVID-19 today. We'll see you back here tomorrow as Bella Shaw brings you the latest. Be safe, stay healthy, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.